Yes, so I'm back. I don't know. I might be only on the results. So I'm back. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, go on. We can see.
So the core features of Sukuk now include, I was explaining asset-backed or asset-based, and I said asset-backed is when you own the property actually, and asset-based is when the property is already there. For example, a government owns its own road, but then it wants to raise more funds so that it will construct or go ahead with other infrastructure development. They can earmark or define a particular segment of the road and sell it to the owners who are now the Sukuk subscribers, so that whatever proceed comes out of that road, assuming there is a toll, they would now be the owners of that proceed of the toll. Now, Sukuks are of different types. In fact, the major body regulating Sukuk, which is the Accounting and Auditing of Islamic Financial Instruments entirely, which is the Accounting and Auditing Organizations for Islamic Financial Institutions, IOFI, has identified more than 13 types of Sukuk, which are tailored to different financing needs and structures. But what we have major here in Nigeria and Africa are the three I highlighted above, which are the Sukuk al-Ijara, that's lease-based, the Sukuk al-Mudaraba, which is profit-sharing based, and of course, the Sukuk al-Murabaha. Now, we have previously explained what Ijara, Mudaraba, Murabaha is in our series of presentations, but for the sake of those that are just joining for the first time, I will just say a word or two about Ijara and other major Sukuk products. Ijara is more of a leasing an asset to a client for a specified period, with rental payment forming the basis of returns. For example, the example I earlier gave, you own a plaza, maybe 100 people put in their money through Sukuk to purchase a plaza. Now, what comes out of rent for that plaza is their own profit. Now, after a particular period of time, maybe a defined 7 years or 5 years, depending on what contract is entered, the plaza could be sold or acquired by an individual, usually the issuer, so that they own it. But you have maybe the rent of more than 5 or 7 years, and on the final maturity date, you get your actual invested sum. But in Mudaraba, which is usually done by corporate entities, as it is now, Taj Bank is issuing Sukuk al-Mudaraba, which they are going to use not to develop anything, because it is not in their own nature of operation to do infrastructural development. So what they are going to do is they are going to augment their working capital. For example, they are going to raise, I think they mentioned 30 billion, right? So if they use that, if they get that, they are going to use it to add to their working capital. And of course, they are going to segment it from their existing capital so that whatever profit comes out of that 30 billion is what is going to be shared by the owners or by those that subscribe to that particular product. Now there is Murabaha, which means cost plus. Now in Murabaha transaction, it involves a person needing a particular item or property approaching those that have the money to buy the property for him, and that he's going to pay in installment. But then there has to be a disclosure that we are going to buy this property for 100 million and we are going to sell it to you at 150 million. So that 50 million is your profit. He is going to, let's say, pay in, let's say, 10 years or 5 years in different installments according to your agreement, and whatever the addition is your profit. But in Nigeria, most times because it is used to develop, let's say, infrastructure development, both state governments and federal government issue only Ijara Sukuk because it is backed or based on an asset. Now, Mudaraba is usually, as explained, issued by corporate entities like banks to augment their working capital. Now, in Nigeria, Osun State was the first to issue 10 billion Sukuk, and it was subscribed successfully to develop educational infrastructure. This is not the picture of the school they developed, it's just a picture I used. Then the federal government also issued Sukuk, I think 4 times, raising about 742 billion naira. And these pictures showing Sukuk endpoint, Sukuk funded section, or Sukuk 4 start point means it is earmarking or defining a particular road which was financed or bought by what you subscribed in that particular Sukuk. For example, if you subscribe to Sukuk number 3, then this road or bridge is defined that, okay, this particular funds were used to do so projects or develop so bridges. It has to be defined so that whatever happens to the road now, the proceed is going to be used to, first of all, maybe develop or maintain it. Then whatever remains out of it is coming to you as a profit. This is now to tell you that the profit you're going to get out of Sukuk is not going to be static, but the percentage is. So if you make 10 million profit today, it is going to be shared amongst you according to what you contribute. But if you make 15 million naira tomorrow, it is still going to be shared according to profit to the investment you made. But that means the earlier one is 10 million, your profit will be a little less than the subsequent one, which is 15 million naira. So it is not static. The funds could increase or decrease based on the performance of this particular road that your money was used to finance. However, since government is involved to put investor confidence, they usually take the responsibility of maintaining the roads, and in most cases, so that investors would be too confident and comfortable with putting in their money. So this is just an example in Nigeria. Now, why does it matter? Why must it be Sukuk? It could be called any other name. Because if you ask me, I would say there is already a legal framework for Sukuk. So why the stress? It is governed by Islamic golden principle, which no riba, you cannot invest in any other business except those that are approved by Sharia, which in most cases are for public good. You cannot put it into alcohol, you cannot put it into industries that do not really align with the development of the society. And it's supposed to development. I didn't say Nigeria, but for example, a country that is so corrupt, if you raise funds through Sukuk, you cannot say we want to borrow out of this money or we want to use this money to divert to a particular project, which is also in the particular interest of the population. No, it is not allowed. Whatever you raise that funds for, the funds needs to and must go into that object solely. So you can imagine, even if the project is populated or the contract is inflated, whether they like it or not, if they raise it through Sukuk, they must deliver that particular project they say they are going to deliver. And it is open to all. In Nigeria, in fact, most of the investors are non-Muslims, but it's called Islamic Bond, but trust me, a lot of indicators are showing that the consumer appetite is even far from what it ordinarily shows. Now, the last issuance, Nigerians in 8 days oversubscribed what the federal government wants. The 300 billion they want, they oversubscribed it by 335%. This to show you that people are really, really, really interested in Sukuk. Not that there are no other investments, because I believe Nigerians have money. When you bring a Ponzi scheme, Nigerians are always the first to enter. When you bring Sukuk, they are always the first to enter, whatever tool you bring. Because there are a lot of people with a lot of money and little investment opportunities for the poor economy. So once you open something like this, within 8 days, they got way more than their expectation. And same thing happened in Lagos State government when they issued their own Sukuk in 2023. It got oversubscribed by 15% within 3 days. So this is to show you there is really a consumer appetite for bond products. Sukuk products, sorry. Now the common questions are, is it only for Muslims? Of course not. In fact, it is more subscribed by non-Muslims in Nigeria than the Muslims, and also non-Muslims owned corporations than the Muslim-owned corporations. And is it profitable? Yes. By the rate of subscription, you will know that it is profitable. However, if you talk with an individual, they will tell you that, why would I put my 1 million naira and wait 1 year only to get 20%? For example, in the case of Taj Bank, they're only given 20%, which is a percent over federal government 19%. But then if you put in 1 million naira, that means you have to wait 1 year before you get 200,000 naira. But this is an investment that has literally zero risk, almost zero risk. Because even where there are losses, they have a profit equalization reserve where they normally reserve a percentage of the profit so that whenever there is a little downfall in the business, they will use that equalization reserve to cover the downfall so that the investors will not feel the heat that much. And it is legal in Nigeria. It is backed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. They normally regulate it. And also international bodies like the IOFI mentioned or the Financial Regulatory Council. Now, I'm just rushing so that we have some time for question and answer. The key takeaways here. The key takeaways here are, it is a compliant alternative to bonds, such that your monies will not go into sectors that are going to bring decadence to the society, and there won't be interest. So they've taken that burden out of your head. So you don't really need to watch it out. They would actually invest in things that invest the funds in things that are ordinarily you and your conscience, good conscience, which would invest. And there is usually an asset or a base or backed by it. So that means it is tied to a real economic activity. Sometimes if you look at the economic indicators in Nigeria, the figures are so encouraging, but when you look at the poverty level and the economic activities, you will realize that the figures are not really reflecting what is going on in the country. So this particular financing tool, try as much as possible to see that all economic activities, all funds raised through that are actually channeled to a real economic activity. And yes, it is already working in Nigeria. In fact, it has demonstrated the appetite of Nigerians towards this. And I would encourage even business owners to see how they can leverage on this particular product to raise more working capital for themselves. If not a formal structure, which will be a little difficult complying with Securities and Exchange Commission, they can actually take a hint from whatever it is avoiding and what it is encouraging to design their own finance. It promotes financial inclusion. Now, before Sukuk, people are reluctant to put in their monies into government bonds because they feel like, okay, it's a fixed rate of interest. Even if the interest rate increases, or even if the property they actually scared with the money appreciates in value, the rate still remains the same. But now there is an alternative. You actually are comfortable that your money is being invested and you're getting profit, and that when the profit appreciates, you're also going to be appreciated. And of course, you are rest assured that your money is not going into an investment that would bring decadence to the society, even if you're reaping profit. you are at least at peace that you are not contributing to the downfall of your children's future. Now, to questions and answers or any remarks, additional contributions. I have seen a lot of resourceful people. Yes, there is a question from Bilkis Shaibu. Please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for this presentation. I remember at some point you mentioned that the amount of profit that a person gets or interest is not fixed. So my understanding of that was that maybe it depends on how much was generated from the investment. But you also mentioned something about a fixed 20%. So I'm a bit confused. Is it a fixed interest rate of 20%, or is it based on the amount of total interest generated from the overall investment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, the percentage is fixed, right? 20% of whatever it is made out of the investment. And that's why I give an example. If the business makes like, say 20 million naira, then your contribution is maybe you've subscribed to 2 million naira. You're also going to get a 20% out of whatever profit is made. But assuming the business now makes, let's say 50 million, that by implication means that what you're going to receive is going to be 20% of that profit that was realized, not that you're going to get always 20% of that particular investment you made. But then another thing is, it depends on the kind of business you are putting your money into. Sometimes some businesses may not really give a kind of different profit throughout the maturity period. So that means you're going to expect that same percentage over the period of the investment. But let's say the example I gave of a plaza, let's say there is a rent increment. That means your own profit is going to increase. But maybe when there is a decrease, or God forbid, the example of COVID, nobody is hiring again, that means your own investment is going to be affected as well. So that is what I mean when I said it is actually tied to a real economic activity. But in most cases, except there are exceptional situations like the COVID, they try as much as possible to see that the investor did not really suffer any loss. So how they do that is normally when they make a lot of profit from their own share, they have an equalization reserve. They will keep the money there so that when they are sharing the profit and it is a little low, they will bring out from their own equalization reserve to make sure that they return you as a customer. Remember, I explained it is a financial intermediation tool. So that means the financial market or the operators will see as much as possible they keep the customers within the sector. I hope I have answered that question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other question, please? Oh, an addition. I can see there are so many experts already in the house. Please, if there are some additions, clarifications, please, the floor is open. You can add your own. Or if there are other offerings you want to do, the only thing I will not allow is advertising. So please go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Alibaba.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me start by appreciating you, the chief hosts, for taking us this wonderful presentation. I really appreciate. This is a kind of presentation that we here, especially in the North, need to be aware of. And it is very, very education session. I joined late. My question here is, I want to know the difference between Sukuk and a conventional bond. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement, Ali Baba. I think the major difference I would say is in conventional bond, what you do is you just give your money and wait for an interest over the money, maybe after a month or annually or biannually, whatever your contract agreement permits. But in conventional bond, you know that first of all, the money is being channeled to a particular sector that is Islamic compliant or Sharia compliant. Secondly, the funds or the profit you are going to or return you are going to receive is going to be tied to a particular economic activity. So where there is a profit, like I mentioned just earlier, your own would appreciate. Where there is a loss, you're also, depending on the contract, of course, you're also going to suffer it. So I think the difference is very clear. Here, you just invest your money and get returns. Here, you know where your money is going into. And to the economy, it is being tied to a real economic activity. So you will see the projects bear, you will see the business being undertaken, and a lot of things like that. So I think this is the major distinction. But like I earlier mentioned, they are both a tool for financial intermediation. It both channels money from the surplus to the deficit unit of the economy. So that is it. Thank you. I can see your hand still raised. If you have another question, you can go ahead. If not, we wait for the next person, please. No further question?
Maybe one, sorry again. One would be, so if someone is interested, what's the first step? Who do you contact? How do you get started? Thank you.
Okay, I think the first thing is whenever there is an issue, Sukuk is being issued, they issue out a prospectus. Normally, the contract details, like a pager, it shows the tenure, how many years, it shows the issuing house, usually where you go directly for your investment. But alternatively, what people do is whenever they see an issue, they contact a practitioner, usually a lawyer, a stockbroker, or other professionals, especially if the investment is huge, so that they will advise them and explain things to them. Because another thing I didn't mention is when you invest your money, let's say the Sukuk is issued for 7 years. It also means that in the process, the expectation is the Sukuk is going to be listed on the NGX, that's stock exchange, which means now on the third or second year, you feel like you need some liquidity, you need some funds. You can actually go to the secondary market and sell it so that you recover your money. And of course, it is going to be at first value. It depends on the value of the issuance at that particular time you want to sell. So if you have 3 years remaining or 5 years remaining, the value is not going to be the same with one that has only some few months remaining. And of course, if the value of the property appreciates, the market will determine it and you will be able to sell. So I think for your question, advisably, you can contact the issuing house you saw on the offer, or maybe the advisors. They normally have those details. Like the Taj Sukuk is being advertised and I think subscribed to 117. They are one of the houses you can go for investment. So you can contact them, or alternatively, if you have a lawyer or a broker that is into capital markets, you can definitely contact them for your investment. Thank you. I hope I've answered that. Any further question? I can see lawyers. Please, I would like to have someone to clarify further. I'm sure maybe there are areas that I didn't explain well. Please, if there is an addition, it's a session for learning so that everybody will go with the best out of it. Go ahead, Ali Baba. I think you're going to pay for your next question. Please go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned earlier that, I joined late. So maybe my questions, you'll be seeing it like I mix some stage. And my question is similar to the previous person that asked you now, but there's little differ on the question. What factors should investor consider before investing in Sukuk versus conventional bonds?
Sukuk is being issued by either a federal government, state government, or a corporation, a registered company. Now, you would agree with me that if the federal government is offering something and it says that this is going to be backed by the confidence and full faith of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have more confidence in investing because Federal Republic of Nigeria cannot cease to exist because of your funds, and you have a lot of things to catch in case they default. Now, a state government as well have a lot of stake, and of course you feel more confident in investing in their own issuance. Now, the corporate entities too, you would agree with me that, for example, if MTN is issuing something, you know that they are so grounded, you don't have any fear. So what I'm trying to say is the profile of the issuer, like who are they? Secondly, the rate of return. Sometimes you will see an issuer issuing, like federal government issued 19% in their last Sukuk. Then Taj Bank now is issuing 20.05%, which is a little higher. So assuming the openings are running concurrently, they are all together running, I believe we will go for the one that has the higher return. So these are some factors: the security of the issuance, who is the issuer, the possibility of it having the credibility, and the rate of return. And maybe another thing you should consider is the tenure. Some issue for 5 years, some for 7 years. And let's say what you have is a savings for your children's school fees, maybe secondary school abroad, and they are still in primary school. So you see, you can actually invest in a 7-year Sukuk without bothering about maybe selling in the secondary market before its maturity. So I think these are basically things you should consider. Other things that are detailed, I think you have to pay a broker or a lawyer to give you all the information. My own today is basic knowledge. Thank you so much. I can see Usman Jajore's hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for taking the time to answer my question. We really need more presentation like this, and I appreciate your effort. Thank you very much.
Yes, go ahead, Usman. Or Abdul Hakim, if Usman is not close by. Or is it my network? Abdul Hakim.
No, you're audible.
Okay, either Abdul Hakim or Usman.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, good evening.
Okay, let me allow my boss to talk.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. It was highly informative. And when you were answering the other ladies a while ago, you said something about listing on the NGX. So I'm a bit confused on that. Like, is there a penalty if you decide to withdraw your funds before the maturity date? In the sense that, like, would you be charged something, like, is there like a commission or a fee that you have to pay if you decide to sell in secondary market before the maturity of your investment? Hello?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you. I believe you are
Okay.
aware that parties are bound by their own contracts. Now, it depends on what you subscribe into. Of course, again, we're running out of time. I can't believe this. Okay. If you want to sell it, you have to, right from subscription, you have to look at it as something that, yes, you can actually hold it for till maturity, or something you can actually sell in the secondary market. Now, the fear is this: if it is not something that is of great value, let's say it is issued by a company that is weak. Now, if you want to sell it, you may not necessarily find a willing buyer. But assuming,
Okay.
let's say, yes, it's a state government, it's a federal government, it's a very strong company, I believe it is going to be determined by the market, because as much as we want to sell, if there is nobody to buy, that would be a problem. So, and that is why you should really consider where you're putting in your money, so that you know that, okay, this is actually a very good investment and can return your money at whatever point in time you want. But I don't think there's a penalty for just withdrawing. Of course, there are days that you can withdraw and would not have the proceed of, let's say you are to receive your profit quarterly. Then maybe on the second month, maybe towards the end of the second month, you just decide that you're selling or you're withdrawing. Of course, the proceed is going to the person you're selling the money to. And like I earlier mentioned, it depends on the terms of the contract as well.
Oh, so the payment of the profits will actually continue, but now in the new owner's name.
Yes, if you sell it, the person is buying the interest actually. So whatever it is that is supposed to come to will go to the person.
Ah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Thanks.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is, as a low-income earner, what is the minimum amount as an investor you can invest in this Sukuk? I actually came late and I have a great interest in learning about it. I'm only familiar with this Sukuk only when I'm traveling in our highway, so I don't know if as a low-income earner, I can also invest with the little I have. Thank you.
I got your question. So it depends still on the offering. Sometimes they offer and say this is the minimum you can subscribe. Sometimes they will say 10,000 naira. Other times they will say, like Lagos State, they will say 10 million is the minimum you can invest. Because they are not looking for individuals that will come and say, tomorrow I want to sell. They are looking for institutional investors. That's what it means, that wants to invest their funds for a longer period of time. But other issuance, like the federal government, you can invest. The first one I saw was, I think 10,000 naira was the least. So you can invest as low as 10,000. And I think Touch Bank own is around 100,000. I'm not sure. I didn't go through the prospectus very well. Very well. But I think it is usually defined at the contract stage that this is the minimum that you can invest. Yeah. So no more questions? No addition, remarks? Yes. I can see so many resource persons. I can start calling out names so that they'll come out and give us a thing or two about it. I can see lawyers, I can see economists, I can see bankers, and the rest. Please, if there is an addition, kindly give us a thing or two so that we can benefit out of it.
Good evening, Mr. Omar.
Good evening, sir.
You have done justice to this. I don't think there is anything to add, honestly. It was really enriching and, and it has been an interactive session. It's fine.
Not telling them.
Thank you.
Not telling them who you are, sir. Can you just tell us how we do if we want to invest? Can we go straight to a bank and say we want to invest?
Well, first of all, you must have an account with the bank. Okay, my name Abubakar Mekmi. I work with Jais Bank, the legal department of Jais Bank. Yeah, there must be a relationship. You must have and maintain an account with the bank before you stand the chance of investing, of course, because a lot of customers were just coming after seeing the adverts and all of that, and most of them don't even have accounts. So before you open an account for them, and it was fully subscribed within the days that were allocated. So some missed out; they were not able to actually invest just because of that. So you must have an account to stand in a good position to invest. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
And also, I think there is a need for
All right, yeah.
CSCS account, right? I don't know if it is still necessary for. Well, there is a need for a CSCS account. A person can really open the CSCS account and just keep it. And such offerings are usually oversubscribed within the window. So if you really want to put your money in any fund in a Sukuk in Nigeria, I think you just have to be ready with the funds availably kept, so that once they open it, maybe in fact within that same day they open it, you just put in your money. Because if you look at Lagos State government, they issued their own, and within 3 days they have 15% over subscription. Nigeria opened its own within 8 days. It has over 720 something percent over subscription. So it is really, really. But this is just the beginning. They are all piloting. This is just the first decade of starting Sukuk in Nigeria. So I believe a lot more would be coming up, so that I would have, and of course, it will be a little bit competitive later on. So the percentage also of return would be increasing over time. I can see Barrister Whitney, who is a capital market solicitor. Please, can you give us a word or two? We still have 2 minutes to go.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Well done, Barrister Bade, on a well-delivered lecture. Unfortunately, I did not join as early as I hoped, so I didn't really get the full picture, but I'm sure that you have done a great job. Even from the few minutes I was able to join, I learned a lot. So maybe the next class will come earlier and then we'll give our insights. I'm not sure where you started from, so I cannot really contribute at this time, but I'm very sure that what you have given is very beneficial to whoever was here from the beginning. So well done. Thank you.
Make sure we make you presenter in our next session. That's great. So, in the absence of any other question, and we've reached the time limit of this subscription or this free Zoom, I think we are going to send emails with assessment form. So you help us fill the assessment sheet. Then we are also going to share a WhatsApp link, because these days it is easier to reach out through WhatsApp, so that if there is any subsequent session or meetings, we would also share through that easily. Thank you so much for joining, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.